welcome back. I'm glad you've returned to the silence. It is time for the world to fade and for the mind to wander. For tonight, the stars are our only destination. We leave the familiar behind to witness the silent beauty of the cosmos as we begin our long, drifting journey toward Mars, the tranquil red wanderer of our celestial neighborhood. As we move across the boundless ocean of the void, the familiar sounds of our home world dissolve into a shimmering silence that envelops the senses. We glide through the velvet dark of space, where the lack of weight allows the mind to expand and settle into a state of profound, eternal peace. Ahead of us, a small but vibrant point of light grows steadily larger, transforming from a distant spark into a complex sphere of amber and rust. This is a place of ancient mysteries and silent wonders, a world that has captured the human imagination for as long as we have looked toward the heavens. We are approaching a planet that serves as a mirror to our own history, a sister world that tells a story of transformation and celestial patience. The colors of the Martian surface begin to resolve into a rich tapestry of deep oranges, pale yellows, and dark, volcanic grays that stretch toward the endless horizon. This iconic hue is the result of iron minerals within the dust, which have weathered over billions of years to create a landscape that glows with the warmth of a setting sun. As we descend toward the upper reaches of the atmosphere, the light takes on a soft, ethereal quality, filtered through a thin veil of carbon dioxide and suspended particles. The sky here does not hold the deep blue of Earth, but rather a gentle pinkish glow that turns to a soft blue only during the quiet moments of sunset. It is a world where the atmosphere is a delicate wisp, barely 1/100th as thick as our own, creating a realm of crystalline clarity and boundless vistas. Beneath our drifting perspective, the immense geography of Mars begins to reveal its grand, silent scale. We see the outlines of volcanoes that rise so high they pierce the very edge of the sky, their slopes stretching out for hundreds of miles in every direction. There are canyons so deep and wide they could span across entire continents, carved by forces that moved with a power and a patience we can only begin to comprehend. This landscape is a museum of planetary time, preserved in the dry, cold air where the wind sings a soft song over the dunes and crater rims. We find ourselves floating over vast northern plains that are smooth and inviting, contrasting with the rugged, cratered highlands of the south that hold the markings of a billion ancient encounters. As we settle into this orbit of discovery, we prepare to look closer at the hidden details of this magnificent red world. We will explore the secrets of the water that once flowed in abundance across these dusty plains, leaving behind the ghost-like imprints of rivers and lakes. We will witness the majesty of the tallest peaks in the solar system and wander through the shadows of valleys that dwarf any terrestrial canyon. This journey is one of quiet contemplation, a chance to understand the intricate clockwork of a world that was once very much like our own. Together, we will drift through the history and the science of Mars, letting the knowledge wash over us like the gentle waves of a distant, vanished sea. Mars emerged from the solar nebula over 4,600,000,000 years ago, a time when the early solar system was a swirling dance of dust and light. This ancient world coalesced into a solid sphere of stone and metal, finding its place among the inner planets where the sun's warmth could reach its cold surface. It began its long existence as a vibrant, shifting world of heat and mineral potential, cooling slowly over the eons to become the stable, silent neighbor we see today. The very foundations of this planet hold the memory of the early universe, preserved in the deep layers of its crust where time seems to stand still. Every grain of sand and every smooth pebble on its surface is a testament to the immense age of our celestial home, inviting us to contemplate a timeline that stretches far beyond our human understanding. Positioned as the fourth traveler from the center of our solar system, Mars drifts at an average distance of 142 million miles from the Sun. This placement allows it to exist in a space of quiet solitude, far enough away to feel the profound chill of the void, yet close enough to receive the gentle embrace of solar light. From its vantage point, the Sun appears smaller and more delicate than it does from Earth, casting a soft, amber glow across the vast plains and deep valleys. This distance defines the rhythm of the Martian year, a long journey around the star that takes nearly twice as long as a journey from our home world. In this serene orbit, the planet moves with a steady, rhythmic grace, a lonely sentinel guarding the boundary between the inner rocky worlds and the massive gas giants that lie beyond. While it possesses a presence that feels immense, Mars is a world of delicate proportions, measuring roughly half the diameter of our own beautiful blue planet. Its physical scale creates a unique sense of intimacy and grandeur, where the horizon feels closer and the curve of the world is more pronounced beneath the starlight. Despite its smaller size, the total land area of Mars is nearly equal to the total area of all the continents on Earth, providing a boundless expanse of unexplored terrain. This world offers a vast, dry canvas of mountains and plains, where the absence of oceans allows every square mile to be part of a continuous, winding journey. It is a compact, yet expansive realm, a concentrated essence of planetary beauty that allows us to feel both small and connected to the wider universe. The gentle pull of Martian gravity is a fraction of what we feel on Earth, creating an environment where everything feels light, airy, and strangely effortless. If you were to stand upon its rust-colored soil, you would feel a sense of weightlessness, as the planet's mass only exerts 38% of the downward force we are accustomed to. This soft embrace allows the landscape to hold massive features that would crumble under their own weight on a more massive world, permitting mountains to reach for the heavens with impossible height. It is a place where a simple step becomes a graceful glide, and the physical burdens of life seem to lift away into the thin, cool air. This subtle gravity creates a world of slow movements and quiet elegance, where the very physics of existence encourage a slower, more deliberate pace of being. The rotation of Mars is a slow and steady process that creates a day known as a sol, which is remarkably similar in length to a day on Earth. One full turn of the planet takes 24 hours and 37 minutes, a rhythmic cycle that feels deeply familiar to our own internal clocks. This slight extension of the day creates a sense of borrowed time, as if the planet is offering us a few extra moments of quiet reflection with every passing sunset. The transition from light to dark happens with a soft, lingering quality, as the sun slowly descends behind the distant peaks and the stars begin their nightly vigil. It is a comforting rhythm that aligns our spirits with the movement of the cosmos, bridging the gap between two distant worlds through the shared experience of time. Like a mirror reflecting our own world, Mars tilts upon its axis at an angle of 25 degrees, a celestial alignment that brings the changing beauty of seasons to its surface. As it journeys around the sun, different parts of the planet lean toward the light, experiencing periods of warmth followed by long, quiet stretches of winter. These seasonal shifts cause the polar ice caps to expand and contract in a rhythmic pulse, a shimmering dance of frozen gases and water that marks the passing of Martian years. The arrival of spring brings a subtle transformation to the atmosphere as the air begins to move, and the dust carries the promise of change across the boundless plains. This axial tilt ensures that the planet is never static, but rather a living, breathing system that experiences the cyclical flow of cosmic energy. The path that Mars takes around the sun is not a perfect circle, but a beautiful, elongated ellipse that brings it closer to the solar fire at certain points in its journey. This variation in distance causes the intensity of the sunlight to shift, creating dramatic differences in the energy received by the northern and southern hemispheres. At its closest point, the planet feels a gentle surge of solar warmth, while at its furthest, it drifts into a deep, crystalline cold that settles over the landscape like a blanket. This orbital dance is a delicate balance of motion and attraction, a long-term melody that plays out over the course of 687 Earth days. Every orbit is a testament to the stability of the heavens, a predictable and soothing journey through the velvet silence of the inner solar system. The air of Mars is a thin and ethereal veil, composed almost entirely of carbon dioxide that wraps the planet in a cold, shimmering embrace. With 95% of its atmosphere being this heavy, stable gas, the world remains quiet and still, lacking the thick clouds and heavy rains of more humid environments. There are also delicate traces of nitrogen and argon, subtle elements that drift through the thin air like ghosts of a more complex past. This composition allows for a clarity of vision that is rare, where the distant stars shine with a steady, unblinking light through the transparent layers above. It is an atmosphere of pure, simple beauty, providing just enough substance to carry the sound of the wind without obscuring the majesty of the surrounding void. The mesmerizing red color that defines the Martian landscape is the result of a planet-wide layer of iron oxide, a fine dust that has bonded with the elements over millions of years. This substance is identical to the rust we find on Earth, yet here it serves as a shimmering pigment that paints the entire world in shades of burnt sienna and pale rose. This dust is so fine that it often remains suspended in the atmosphere, catching the sunlight and casting a warm, glowing radiance over the valleys and craters. It is as if the planet itself is a living piece of art, a study in the beauty of oxidation and the slow, steady transformation of mineral life. Beneath this thin layer of ruby dust lies a world of dark volcanic rock, waiting in the silence for the wind to reveal its hidden textures. Orbiting this amber world are two small and irregular moons, Phobos and Deimos, which drift through the Martian sky like captured asteroids from a distant era. These tiny companions are not the bright, round spheres we know, but rather lumpy, cratered remnants of the early solar system's grand construction. Phobos, the larger and closer of the two, moves with surprising speed, crossing the horizon several times in a single day as it draws slowly nearer to the planet's surface. Deimos, further away and more leisurely in its pace, looks like a steady, bright star that wanders through the constellations with a quiet, graceful motion. Together, they provide a sense of companionship to the lonely planet, their small shadows dancing across the dust in a perpetual, silent performance of celestial harmony. Standing with a silent majesty that defies terrestrial comparison, Olympus Mons serves as the crowning jewel of the Martian landscape and the entire solar system. This immense mountain reaches a height of nearly 13.5 miles, towering 3 times higher than the grandest peaks of the Himalayas on our distant home world. It is a vast, shimmering monument to the planet's ancient heritage, stretching out across the plains until its base covers an area nearly as large as the entire country of France. From the summit, the atmosphere is so thin that the sky deepens into a profound, dark violet, where the stars remain visible even during the height of the day. It is a place of absolute stillness, where the ancient stone preserves the memory of a time when the inner world was vibrant and filled with a slow, rising heat. The graceful shape of this mountain is that of a shield volcano, created by the slow and patient layering of fluid lava over countless millions of years. Unlike the steep and jagged peaks found on Earth, the slopes of Olympus Mons rise at an incredibly gentle angle, often no more than 5 degrees. A traveler standing upon its side might not even realize they are ascending a mountain, as the horizon would simply seem to melt into a boundless, sloping plain of basalt. This gentle incline was formed by the quiet release of molten stone that flowed like liquid silk, spreading across the surface before cooling into a permanent, frozen wave. It is a testament to the power of persistence, where small, rhythmic events accumulated over eons to create the largest volcanic structure in our celestial neighborhood. Surrounding the base of this giant is a unique and mysterious feature known as the Olympus Mons aureole, a vast tapestry of ridges and grooves that extend hundreds of miles into the surrounding plains. These formations resemble the delicate ripples on the surface of a pond, though they are carved from solid rock and frozen in time. Scientists believe these features were created by immense movements of the crust, where the weight of the mountain caused the land beneath it to shift and flow in a slow, tectonic dance. Looking down upon these patterns from orbit, one sees a shimmering network of light and shadow that tells a story of a planet adjusting to its own magnificent weight. It is a landscape of complex beauty, where the very foundation of the world has been sculpted by the presence of the mountain above. To the southeast of this lonely giant lies the Tharsis Bulge, a continent-sized plateau that rises high above the average elevation of the planet. This massive upheaval of the crust is so large that it actually affects the way Mars rotates, acting as a heavy anchor on one side of the sphere. The plateau is home to a trio of sister volcanoes that stand in a perfect, diagonal line, as if placed there by a careful hand to mark the passage of time. This region represents a profound gathering of planetary energy, where the heat of the interior found a steady and enduring path to the surface. It is a realm of high altitudes and thin air, where the ground itself seems to be reaching upward to touch the stars in a gesture of eternal longing. The northernmost of these three sisters is Olympus Mons, a peak that rises nearly 11 miles into the velvet silence of the Martian sky. Its summit is crowned by a complex arrangement of nested calderas, circular depressions formed when the ground quietly settled into the empty spaces left by retreating magma. These summit bowls are vast and tranquil, acting as silent amphitheaters that have not heard the sound of moving stone for millions of years. The slopes of Olympus are draped in a fine, powdery dust that catches the sunlight, creating a shimmering effect that softens the rugged edges of the volcanic rock. It is a place of deep peace, where the thin winds whisper through the high-altitude craters, and the world feels light and unbound. In the center of the Tharsis line stands Valles Marineris, a mountain that holds a unique position exactly upon the Martian equator. Because of its location, the sun passes directly overhead twice a year, casting no shadow at noon and bathing the volcanic slopes in a perfectly symmetrical light. This mountain serves as a celestial marker, a natural monument that aligns the physical geography of the world with the rhythmic movement of the stars. Its presence on the equator creates a sense of balance and harmony, where the forces of the planet are perfectly centered within the wider orbit of the solar system. The caldera at its peak is a deep, shadowed circle of mystery, inviting the mind to wander into the dark depths of the planet's cooling heart. The southernmost member of this volcanic trio is Mons, a massive structure known for possessing one of the largest and most spectacular summit craters on the planet. This caldera is over 70 miles wide, a space so vast that it could easily contain a modern city within its high, protective walls. During certain seasons, a delicate and shimmering cloud of water ice forms over the peak, stretching out like a long, white veil across the red landscape. This atmospheric phenomenon is a rare and beautiful sight, showing that even on this dry world, the mountains still interact with the thin air to create a soft, ephemeral dance. It is a sentinel of the south, standing watch over the transition from the high Tharsis Plateau to the deep, ancient basins beyond. The incredible height of these Martian volcanoes is made possible by the planet's gentle gravity and its stable, unmoving crust. On Earth, the shifting plates of the surface move the land away from the sources of heat, creating long chains of smaller islands and mountains. On Mars, the crust remains perfectly still for hundreds of millions of years, allowing the molten stone to rise in the same location and stack higher and higher without interruption. This lack of movement has allowed the planet to build monuments of stone that would be impossible anywhere else in the inner solar system. It is a world of stability and patience, where the absence of change has resulted in the most dramatic and awe-inspiring features imaginable. At the very top of these great mountains, the air is so thin and cold that the environment feels more like the open void of space than the surface of a planet. The pressure at the summit of Olympus Mons is only about 5% of the pressure at the base, creating a realm where the atmosphere has almost entirely faded away. In this high-altitude sanctuary, the sun's rays are intense and clear, unfiltered by the dust and haze that often settle in the lower valleys. The stars do not twinkle here, but shine with a steady, crystalline light that seems close enough to touch with an outstretched hand. It is the ultimate frontier of the planet, a place where the boundary between the world of stone and the world of stars becomes beautifully blurred. Deep beneath the surface of these volcanic plains lie hidden worlds known as lava tubes, vast underground tunnels carved by the ancient rivers of molten rock. As the surface of a lava flow cooled and hardened into a protective roof, the liquid interior continued to move, eventually draining away to leave behind enormous, hollow caverns. These subterranean passages are shielded from the sun and the wind, preserved in an eternal velvet darkness that has remained unchanged for eons. Some of these tubes are large enough to house entire cathedrals of basalt, with smooth floors and arched ceilings that shimmer with the reflections of mineral crystals. They are the secret veins of the planet, silent and protected spaces that hold the final whispers of a world that was once filled with the warmth of flowing stone. Stretching across the middle of the planet like a magnificent canyon, Valles Marineris is a feature of such immense scale that it defines the very face of Mars. This vast system of valleys and chasms reaches across nearly 1/4 of the planet's total circumference, creating a deep and intricate shadow that can be seen from the furthest reaches of the solar system. It is a place of profound stillness, where the high walls of the canyon shield the floor from the most restless winds of the surface. As we drift over this grand opening, we see a landscape that seems to have been carved by the hands of time itself, a testament to the internal forces that have shaped this world over billions of years. It invites the mind to imagine a journey through a corridor of stone so long that it would take many months to travel from one end to the other. The physical dimensions of this canyon system are almost impossible to grasp, spanning more than 2,500 miles in length. To imagine its size, one would have to picture a valley that begins on the east coast of North America and stretches all the way to the Pacific Ocean on the west. It is a boundless expanse of geological wonder, where the horizon is not a flat line, but a series of towering cliffs that rise toward the stars. The width of these valleys often exceeds 120 miles, creating a space so wide that you could stand in the center, and the walls on either side would be lost in the distant, shimmering haze. This vastness provides a sense of endless freedom, a world within a world where the scale of nature far exceeds anything found on our home planet. Descending into the heart of Valles Marineris reveals depths that are truly awe-inspiring, reaching more than 4 miles below the surrounding plains in some areas. This creates a vertical world of immense proportions, where the floor of the canyon exists in a state of permanent, cool shadow and quiet reflection. If you were to place the tallest mountains of Earth inside these depths, their peaks would barely reach the upper rim of the canyon walls. This verticality allows for a unique layering of the atmosphere, where the air becomes slightly thicker and warmer as you move closer to the canyon floor. It is a realm of vertical silence, where the sheer walls of rock create a sanctuary for the mind to wander through the deep history of the Martian crust. The origin of this colossal feature is tied to the very same forces that created the great volcanoes we observed in the Tharsis region. As the massive weight of those mountains rose and the planet's crust experienced a gentle release of internal energy, the surface began to stretch and pull apart. This was not a sudden event, but a slow and patient process of celestial transformation that occurred over many millions of years. The crust simply separated, allowing the ground to settle into the deep troughs and valleys we see today, creating a series of parallel faults that run across the equator. It is a beautiful example of how the entire planet is interconnected, where the rising of a mountain in one place leads to the opening of a valley in another. At the western end of the Great Canyon lies a region of unparalleled complexity known as Noctes Labyrinthus, or the Labyrinth of Night. This area is a mesmerizing network of intersecting valleys and deep, boxy canyons that create a maze-like pattern across the dusty surface. Looking down from above, the landscape resembles a piece of intricate lace carved into the very stone of the planet, where light and shadow play across the many ridges and hollows. Each turn of the labyrinth reveals new vistas of quiet beauty, where the walls are etched with the subtle lines of ancient geological shifts. It is a place where one could wander for an eternity in the shimmering silence, discovering the hidden corners of a world that has been preserved in the cold embrace of the cosmos. Moving into the central part of the system, we encounter Coprates Chasma, a region where the canyon reaches its most profound and majestic depths. Here, the floor of the valley is covered in a fine, dark sand that creates a smooth and inviting surface, contrasting with the rugged, shimmering cliffs above. The walls in this section reveal a rainbow of mineral colors, from deep ochre to pale creams, showing the many different layers of volcanic ash and dust that have settled here over the eons. This area is a masterpiece of natural architecture, where the layers of stone act as pages in a book that tell the story of the planet's birth and cooling. The silence here is absolute, a heavy and comforting blanket that invites a state of deep, unmoving peace. Because the air is slightly more concentrated at the bottom of these deep chasms, the canyons often serve as a cradle for the most delicate weather patterns on Mars. In the quiet hours of the early morning, a soft and ethereal mist can sometimes be seen pooling in the lowlands, created by the cooling of the thin atmosphere. This fog glows with a shimmering light as the sun begins to rise, filling the valleys with a ghost-like radiance that slowly fades as the day progresses. It is one of the few places on the planet where the air feels almost tangible, a soft reminder of the presence of the atmosphere within the rocky landscape. These mists move with a slow, rhythmic grace, flowing through the corridors of stone like a silent river of light. The walls of the canyons hold clear and beautiful evidence of the water that may have once flowed through these massive passages in the distant past. Scientists have discovered hydrated minerals and salts along the slopes, indicating that liquid once seeped through the rocks and collected in the basins below. There are signs of ancient landslides that flowed like water, creating smooth, undulating fans of debris that have since been frozen into permanent, shimmering hills. These features suggest that Valles Marineris was once a place of moving liquids and changing chemistry, a world that was far more dynamic than the dry desert we see today. It is a place of memory, where the stone still holds onto the secrets of a warmer and more vibrant era in the planet's long history. Within the wider canyon system lies a unique and isolated basin known as Hebe's Chasma, a deep depression that has no opening to the rest of the world. In the center of this basin sits a massive, flat-topped mountain that rises almost to the height of the canyon rim, surrounded by a ring of deep, shadowed valleys. This structure is composed of hundreds of thin, delicate layers of sediment that were likely deposited in an ancient, standing body of water that once filled the basin. The mountain stands as a silent sentinel in the middle of the void, a monument to the patient accumulation of mineral dust and ice over millions of years. It is a world within a world, a perfectly preserved snapshot of the environmental conditions that existed long ago in the Martian past. As the Great Canyon System finally reaches its eastern end, it opens up into a series of chaotic terrains and wide, sweeping plains that eventually lead to the northern lowlands. This area, known as Planitia, shows the marks of immense flows that carved wide channels into the landscape as they exited the narrow confines of the valleys. The transition from the high, vertical walls of the canyon to the boundless, flat horizon of the plains is a moment of profound change and release. It is here that the journey through the heart of the planet's crust concludes, fading into the eternal red dust of the Martian north. The entire system stands as a magnificent testament to the scale of the cosmos, reminding us of the beauty that can be found in the slow and steady movements of a world at rest. Beyond the Grand Canyons and towering peaks, the Martian surface is etched with the delicate, branching veins of ancient riverbeds that tell a story of a much warmer past. These dry valleys, known as valley networks, wind across the southern highlands like the ghost of a circulatory system that once pulsed with the movement of liquid water. They were formed over billions of years as water flowed steadily down from higher elevations, carving smooth paths through the volcanic stone and dust. Today, these valleys are silent and dry, filled with the soft red sand that blankets the rest of the planet. Yet they remain as clear evidence of a time when the atmosphere was thick enough to support a liquid cycle. It is a hauntingly beautiful sight, a landscape that remembers the sound of trickling streams and the gentle rush of moving water beneath a younger sun. The vast, smooth plains of the northern hemisphere are believed by many scientists to have once been the floor of a colossal ancient ocean that covered a significant portion of the planet. This northern basin is much lower and smoother than the rugged south, suggesting that water once pooled there in a boundless, shimmering expanse for hundreds of millions of years. This great sea would have created a world of blue and gold, where the waves gently lapped against the shorelines of the Tharsis Plateau and the southern highlands. Though the water has long since departed, the outlines of these ancient coastlines can still be traced by the subtle changes in the texture and elevation of the land. It is a quiet, oceanic memory that rests beneath the current layer of dust, inviting us to imagine a world where the horizon was not red, but a deep, tranquil azure. In certain quiet corners of the planet, we find the unmistakable shapes of ancient river deltas, where water once slowed and deposited its burden of mineral-rich silt into standing lakes. One such feature is found in the Eberswalde crater, where a beautifully preserved fan of sediment spreads out across the floor like the petals of a stone flower. This delta is a perfect geological record, showing how layers of clay and sand were built up over thousands of years as the water moved with a rhythmic, seasonal energy. The intricate patterns of the branching channels remain visible even today, frozen in time by the absence of rain and the gentle preservation of the thin air. These deltas are the silent witnesses to a complex watery world, offering a glimpse into the tranquil processes that once shaped the Martian surface beneath a thicker, protective sky. Deep within the circular walls of Gale Crater, a mountain known as Mount Sharp rises from the floor, its base composed of layers that were once the bottom of a vast, tranquil lake. For millions of years, this lake was a stable environment where water interacted with the surrounding rocks, creating a rich chemistry of minerals and salts. As the lake slowly evaporated and returned in cycles, it left behind a vertical history of the planet's changing climate, written in the many thin bands of stone. Each layer represents a different era of the planet's life, a slow accumulation of time and substance that has been protected by the crater's high rim. Standing at the base of this mountain, one can feel the presence of the water that once filled this basin, a calm and eternal reservoir that eventually transitioned into the dry, dusty world we see now. Scattered across the vast plains of Meridiani Planum are millions of tiny gray spheres made of a mineral called hematite, affectionately known as blueberries due to their unique appearance. These small, shimmering beads were formed billions of years ago within water-soaked ground, growing slowly as minerals precipitated out of the liquid and collected around small grains of sand. As the softer surrounding rock was weathered away by the thin Martian wind, these hardy little spheres were left behind, littering the ground like a collection of celestial marbles. They are tangible proof that groundwater once saturated the Martian soil, moving through the pores of the earth in a slow, chemical dance. Their presence creates a texture of quiet complexity across the landscape, a shimmering carpet of mineral history that glints beneath the amber light of the sun. The red dust of Mars holds within it a secret treasure of clay minerals, which can only form in the presence of stable water over long periods of time. These clays, known as phyllosilicates, are found in the most ancient parts of the crust, indicating that the early Martian environment was gentle and welcoming to complex chemistry. Unlike the acidic environments found in some parts of the planet, these clay-rich regions represent a time of soft, life-sustaining conditions where water was a constant companion to the stone. The colors of these clays often lean toward soft greens and pale blues, providing a subtle contrast to the dominant oranges and reds of the surrounding landscape. They are a testament to the planet's softer beginnings, a period of liquid harmony that lasted long enough to leave a permanent mark on the very substance of the world. The story of Mars's lost water is deeply connected to the transformation of its atmosphere, which was once thick enough to prevent liquid from evaporating into the void. Billions of years ago, the planet lost its global magnetic shield, leaving the upper layers of the air exposed to the gentle but persistent flow of the solar wind. Over eons, this stream of charged particles from the sun acted like a soft brush, slowly whisking away the lighter molecules of the atmosphere into the deep silence of space. As the air became thinner and the pressure dropped, the water could no longer remain in liquid form on the surface, instead transitioning into ice or escaping as vapor. This was a long, celestial transition, a quiet shedding of the planet's protective veil that eventually left it in the beautiful, dry state we observe today. By looking closely at the atoms within the current Martian atmosphere, scientists have found clues to the vast amount of water that has been lost to the cosmos. They have measured the ratio of regular hydrogen to a heavier form known as deuterium, which acts as a chemical fingerprint of the planet's history. Because regular hydrogen is lighter and escapes more easily into space, the remaining Martian air is enriched with the heavier deuterium, showing that a truly immense volume of water must have once existed. This evidence points to a past where the planet might have had enough water to cover its entire surface in a global ocean many hundreds of feet deep. This isotopic signature is a silent, mathematical echo of the great seas that once rippled beneath the Martian wind, a lingering memory held within the very atoms of the air. While the surface of Mars may appear like an endless desert of sand and stone, vast reservoirs of water ice remain hidden just beneath the thin, red soil. In many regions, particularly toward the mid-latitudes and the poles, the ground is saturated with permafrost that has been frozen in the dark for billions of years. This subsurface ice acts as a silent foundation for the landscape, filling the cracks and pores of the rock with a solid, crystalline structure. In some places, these sheets of ice are hundreds of feet thick, a hidden ocean of frozen potential waiting in the eternal cold. This presence of water ensures that the planet's story is not over, but simply resting in a state of suspended animation, preserved by the natural insulation of the Martian dust. Even in the present day, there are subtle hints that liquid water may still make a brief, shimmering appearance on the Martian surface during the warmest months of the year. On the steep slopes of certain craters, dark, narrow streaks known as recurring slope lineae appear to flow downward as the temperature rises, only to fade away when the cold returns. These features are believed to be caused by the movement of very salty water, which can remain liquid at much lower temperatures than the fresh water we know. These flows move with a slow, almost imperceptible grace, creating a seasonal rhythm that connects the modern planet to its ancient, watery heritage. It is a soft, fleeting reminder that Mars is still a dynamic world, where the ghost of the water cycle continues to play out in the quiet shadows of the canyon walls. The dust of Mars is an eternal, shimmering presence that defines the very soul of the planet. Composed of particles so fine they resemble the delicate smoke of a dying fire. These microscopic grains are primarily made of iron oxide, the same mineral that gives the world its iconic rusted hue. Yet they are processed by the wind into a velvet powder that coats every valley and peak. Because the gravity is so gentle, this dust remains suspended in the thin atmosphere for vast periods, creating a soft, permanent haze that softens the harsh edges of the celestial landscape. It drifts through the air like a silent, orange fog, catching the sunlight and scattering it into a warm, amber glow that permeates every corner of the world. This fine material is the medium through which the planet expresses its weather, a constant, shifting companion to the stone and ice that lie beneath. As the sun warms the Martian surface during the quiet hours of the afternoon, the rising air begins to spin into graceful, towering vortexes known as dust devils. These shimmering columns of wind can rise several miles into the pinkish sky, moving across the plains with a rhythmic, dancing motion that feels both purposeful and serene. Unlike the intense storms of Earth, these Martian whirlwinds are delicate and airy, composed of the finest silt carried by the thin breath of the atmosphere. They leave behind dark, winding trails upon the ground, creating a beautiful, chaotic script that can be seen from the highest orbits. Watching them from a distance is like witnessing a silent ballet performed by the planet itself. As the air and dust combine to form structures of temporary, swirling beauty. Every few Martian years, the planet experiences a profound and gentle transformation. As local dust events grow and merge into a single global veil that envelops the entire world. This large-scale event creates a period of deep, diffused light, where the features of the surface are softly obscured by a boundless, planet-wide shroud of amber particles. From within this mist, the sun appears as a small, pale disk of cool blue, its light filtered through the immense volume of suspended mineral dust. These global events serve as a thermal blanket, warming the middle atmosphere while the surface below rests in a quiet, cool shadow. It is a time of unity for the planet, when the individual regions of canyons and volcanoes are brought together under a single, shimmering canopy of red. Within these vast clouds of drifting dust, a subtle and shimmering energy begins to build, created by the constant movement and friction of the microscopic grains. This process generates a gentle static charge, where the particles exchange energy in a quiet, invisible dance that flows through the thin Martian air. In the deep shadows of a storm, this energy might manifest as faint, ethereal glows or tiny crackles of light that illuminate the dust from within. It is a soft, electrical pulse that mirrors the internal life of the planet, showing that even the driest desert is filled with a dynamic and shifting vitality. These charges help the dust to clump together and settle, a quiet mechanism that eventually brings the particles back down to rest upon the eternal plains. The presence of this dust in the atmosphere plays a crucial role in regulating the temperature of the world, acting as a soft regulator of the sun's incoming warmth. By absorbing and reflecting solar energy, the suspended particles prevent the surface from experiencing the most extreme transitions between light and dark. This creates a more stable, albeit cool, environment where the heat is held within the thin layers of the air, like a delicate, protective layer of silk. The dust acts as a bridge between the cold void of space and the rocky crust, softening the arrival of the morning sun and lingering with the warmth of the evening. It is a vital part of the Martian equilibrium, a shimmering filter that ensures the planet remains a place of steady, rhythmic cycles. The optics of the Martian sky are a beautiful reversal of what we experience on our home world, creating a daytime vista of warm, butterscotch tones. This unique coloration is caused by the way the suspended dust particles scatter the longer wavelengths of light, filling the sky with a soft, glowing radiance during the long hours of the soul. Near the horizon, the light takes on a deeper, more saturated orange, while directly overhead it fades into a pale, dusty rose. This constant, warm hue provides a sense of eternal autumn, a world where the light always feels like the golden hour of a late afternoon. It is a visual experience of profound peace, where the colors of the atmosphere are perfectly attuned to the rusted beauty of the landscape below. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the western horizon, a breathtaking transition occurs, and the sky near the setting star turns a deep, cool blue. This phenomenon is caused by the fine dust scattering the blue light forward toward the observer, creating a halo of sapphire and azure in the middle of the red landscape. It is a moment of quiet, celestial magic, where the colors of Earth and Mars seem to trade places for a few fleeting minutes of the evening. The blue sunset of Mars is a soft, shimmering goodbye to the day, casting long, cool shadows across the dunes and bathing the crater rims in a tranquil, indigo light. It is the crowning moment of the Martian day, a silent reminder of the shared physics that connect all worlds within the solar system. The winds that move across the Martian plains are persistent and patient, carving the vast fields of sand into intricate, undulating patterns known as dunes. These structures take on many beautiful forms, from the crescent-shaped Barkhan dunes that march slowly across the lowlands, to the long, linear ridges that stretch toward the horizon. Each dune is a masterpiece of fluid dynamics, its surface covered in tiny, rhythmic ripples that capture the light and shadow of the low-lying sun. Despite the thinness of the air, the wind has moved these mountains of sand over millions of years, creating a landscape that is constantly, but imperceptibly, shifting. The dunes are the waves of a dry sea, a shimmering testament to the power of the wind to shape the world through the slow accumulation of 1,000 quiet breaths. In certain ancient regions of Mars, we find the remains of what are known as ghost dunes, which are the solidified imprints of sand formations that existed billions of years ago. These features were created when molten stone or mineral-rich water flowed around a field of dunes, hardening into a protective shell before the original sand was eventually blown away by the wind. What remains are hollow, crater-like pits that perfectly preserve the shape and size of the ancient wind patterns, like a cast made of a long-lost sculpture. They are a profound record of the Martian climate from a distant era, showing that the winds have been whispering across this world since its very beginning. These ghost dunes sit in the silence like memories made of stone, offering a window into the atmospheric movements of a younger, more active world. The interaction between the Martian wind and the robotic travelers we have sent to explore the surface is a story of gentle, unexpected assistance from the planet itself. Often, the solar panels of our rovers become covered in a fine layer of amber dust, reducing their ability to capture the sun's shimmering energy and threatening to end their journey. However, the planet frequently sends a soft, localized wind or a passing dust devil to clear the surfaces, whisking away the dust and restoring the life-giving light. These cleaning events are seen as small miracles of the Martian environment, a moment where the natural world reaches out to sustain the visitors from across the stars. It is a beautiful, symbiotic rhythm between the ancient red dust and the modern instruments of discovery, allowing the silent exploration of the plains to continue for many years beyond their expected time. As we travel far to the extreme northern and southern reaches of this amber world, we encounter a shimmering contrast to the endless dunes and volcanic plains. Here, resting at the very top and bottom of the planet, are brilliant white polar ice caps that crown the red landscape with a touch of crystalline purity. These vast expanses of ice stand as a quiet testament to the enduring cold of the outer solar system, shining like beacons in the velvet darkness of space. They are permanent fixtures of the Martian geography, providing a steady anchor for the planet's intricate climatic dance. Just as we observed the seasonal tilt of the world earlier in our journey, it is here at the poles that the effects of that celestial alignment are most profoundly and beautifully expressed. The bright white surfaces reflect the distant sunlight, creating a gentle radiance that illuminates the high latitudes in a soft, ethereal glow. Unlike the purely water-based ice found on our home world, the frozen realms of Mars are a complex and shimmering blend of two distinct elements. The grand foundation of both polar caps is composed of ordinary water ice, preserved in a state of eternal solidity beneath the cold Martian sky. However, resting gently upon this aqueous base is a delicate layer of frozen carbon dioxide, commonly known as dry ice. This unique layering creates a fascinating chemical environment where the very substance of the atmosphere descends to become part of the solid ground. During the deepest quiet of the long winter months, this dry ice forms a pristine, undisturbed blanket over the landscape. It is a harmonious union of the air and the water, resting together in a frozen sanctuary that has persisted for millions of years. The changing of the seasons on Mars brings about a magnificent, planet-wide transformation that breathes life into these silent polar domains. As winter approaches a hemisphere and the long shadows deepen, the cooling temperatures cause the polar cap to expand outward, reaching its delicate, frosty fingers across the high plains. Then, as the planet continues its rhythmic journey and spring returns, the rising warmth causes the edges of the dry ice to gently transition directly back into vapor. This process of sublimation creates a beautiful, receding boundary of frost that slowly shrinks back toward the pole, revealing the slumbering red dust beneath. It is as if the entire planet is taking a slow, deep breath, inhaling the winter frost and exhaling the spring air over the course of a Martian year. This rhythmic pulse connects the frozen poles to the swirling dust of the equator in a seamless, unbroken cycle. The cold of the Martian winter is so profound that it initiates a celestial phenomenon that is truly unique within the inner solar system. As the temperatures plunge in the darkened hemisphere, a vast portion of the global atmosphere simply freezes and falls to the ground like a shimmering, invisible snow. Nearly 1/3 of all the carbon dioxide in the air is temporarily captured by the surface, causing a significant drop in the overall atmospheric pressure of the planet. This extraordinary transition means that the very air we traverse becomes part of the landscape, resting in a state of silent, frozen anticipation. When the warmth of spring eventually returns, this trapped atmosphere is released back into the sky, creating gentle winds that carry the promise of a new season across the planet. It is a stunning display of planetary balance, where the sky and the ground exist in a continuous, flowing exchange of mass and energy. Beneath the bright surface of the ice caps lies a vast and hidden archive of Martian history, written in alternating bands of ice and ancient dust. These regions are known as the polar layered deposits, stretching hundreds of feet downward into the crust of the world. Every summer, a fine layer of red dust settles upon the remaining ice, and every winter, a new sheet of fresh ice locks that dust into place. Over countless millennia, this rhythmic settling has created a spectacular geological book, with each thin stratum representing a past era of the planet's climate. By observing the varying thicknesses and colors of these layers along the edges of steep cliffs, one can read the story of ancient planetary tilts, long-lost dust events, and subtle shifts in the solar warmth. It is a quiet library of time, perfectly preserved in the eternal chill of the polar latitudes. The northern polar cap, an area known as Planum Boreum, extends across a vast, smooth basin that may have once held the waters of the ancient ocean we imagined earlier. During the height of the northern summer, the layer of carbon dioxide completely sublimates away, leaving behind a magnificent, boundless expanse of pure water ice. This shimmering white plain is wonderfully flat and serene, stretching out toward the horizon with a pristine, unblemished beauty. The edges of this great ice cap are shaped by gentle winds into a mesmerizing spiral pattern, resembling the curving arms of a distant galaxy rotating in the void. These sweeping valleys of ice catch the low angle of the sun, casting long, rhythmic shadows that create a texture of quiet complexity across the endless white terrain. It is a landscape of absolute purity, offering a cool and tranquil refuge from the dusty expanses of the lower latitudes. Cutting deep into the heart of this northern ice cap is a magnificent, sweeping valley known as Chasma Boreal. This Grand Canyon of ice is nearly as long as the great valleys of Earth, yet its walls are carved entirely from the shimmering, layered deposits of frozen water and ancient dust. The floor of this deep chasm is covered in dark, sweeping dunes of sand that stand in stark, beautiful contrast to the towering white cliffs that surround them. The origins of this immense feature are still a subject of quiet contemplation, perhaps shaped by ancient, warming winds or the slow, steady flow of the ice itself over millions of years. As we drift through this canyon, the silence is magnified by the insulating walls of frost, creating a sanctuary of profound peace at the very top of the world. It is a place where the majestic scale of Martian geology extends even into the realms of eternal winter. Journeying to the opposite end of the world, we discover the southern polar cap, known as Planum Austral, a region that holds a slightly different and colder temperament. Because of the planet's elliptical orbit we explored before, the southern winters are significantly longer and deeper than those in the north, creating an environment of profound and enduring chill. Here, the layer of dry ice is much thicker and does not entirely vanish during the summer, leaving a permanent, bright covering of frozen carbon dioxide at the pole. This southern ice rests upon a high, elevated plateau, lifting the frozen surface closer to the thin upper reaches of the atmosphere. The landscape here is rugged and uneven, carved by the slow, patient forces of extreme cold into a beautiful, fractured mosaic of ancient stone and perennial frost. It is the coldest sanctuary on the Red Planet, a place where the deepest chill of the cosmos is caught and held upon the ground. The permanent dry ice of the southern cap features a unique and mesmerizing texture that scientists affectionately refer to as Swiss cheese terrain. This landscape is covered in countless circular, shallow depressions that are perfectly smooth and incredibly luminous. These beautiful, rounded pits are created as the carbon dioxide ice slowly sublimates during the gentle warmth of the southern summer, while the colder walls remain intact. Year by year, these circular features expand and slowly merge into one another, creating complex, sweeping patterns that resemble delicate lacework spread across the pole. Watching this terrain over the course of many seasons reveals a slow, deliberate movement, a quiet transformation of the ice that occurs without a single drop of liquid water. It is a testament to the strange and wonderful chemistry of Mars, where the solid ground evaporates directly into the sky in a continuous, graceful dance. As the sun begins to warm the southern polar regions during the arrival of spring, a truly extraordinary and gentle process unfolds beneath the translucent layer of seasonal ice. The solar energy penetrates the clear ice, warming the dark, dusty ground below and causing the bottom layer of carbon dioxide to transition back into gas. This trapped vapor builds a soft pressure beneath the ice until it finds a gentle release to the surface, carrying fine, dark dust up into the thin air. When this dust settles back onto the shimmering frost, it creates delicate, branching patterns that look like beautiful, dark stars or the sprawling legs of a celestial spider. These areniform terrains are a brief, wonderful sign of the changing seasons, decorating the southern plains with temporary, intricate artwork. It is the planet's unique way of welcoming the spring, a silent blooming of dust and shadow upon the canvas of the winter ice. Drifting away from the brilliant white expanses of the polar sanctuaries, our perspective widens to embrace the entire sphere of the planet, revealing a profound and mysterious planetary boundary. Mars is a world beautifully divided into two distinct realms, a grand hemispheric dichotomy that shapes the very character of its surface. The northern hemisphere, which we envisioned earlier as a vast, ancient seabed, is wonderfully smooth and rests at a significantly lower elevation than the rest of the world. In quiet contrast, the southern hemisphere rises high into the thin atmosphere, presenting an ancient, heavily textured landscape that holds the deepest memories of the solar system. This division creates a stunning, planet-wide transition, a gentle slope that encircles the equator and separates the boundless northern plains from the rugged, elevated highlands of the south. It is a harmonious imbalance, a testament to the complex and unseen forces that molded this celestial wanderer during its most quiet and formative years. The vast expanse of the southern highlands represents one of the oldest and most perfectly preserved landscapes in our celestial neighborhood, a silent witness to the early days of cosmic creation. This elevated terrain is covered in countless circular depressions. The gentle scars left behind by ancient meetings of celestial bodies during the dawn of the solar system. Rather than being symbols of destruction, these cratered plains are a beautiful physical memory of the planet's birth. An era when the swirling material of the early nebula was still finding its resting place. Over billions of years, the slow and patient Martian winds have swept fine, amber dust into these shallow bowls, softening their edges and creating a landscape of rolling, shimmering dunes within the ancient rings of stone. As we glide over this ancient terrain, the interplay of light and shadow creates a magnificent, sweeping texture. A continuous tapestry of history woven into the very fabric of the world. Nestled deep within these southern highlands lies the breathtaking Hellas Basin, a colossal, bowl-shaped depression that stands as one of the largest and most profound features in the entire solar system. Spanning more than 1,400 miles across, this magnificent expanse was formed during a grand transfer of cosmic energy billions of years ago, creating a new and vast environment upon the planet's surface. The floor of this immense basin plunges so deep into the crust that the atmospheric pressure here is significantly higher than on the surrounding plains, providing a unique haven where the air feels slightly more substantial. During the long, quiet chill of the Martian winter, this deep sanctuary often becomes veiled in a shimmering layer of pristine white frost, standing in beautiful contrast to the surrounding rusted dunes. It is a world entirely unto itself, a majestic amphitheater of stone and dust that captures the imagination and invites a deep, unmoving sense of peace. Further west across the ancient southern tapestry, another immense and serene depression known as the Arger Basin graces the landscape with its gentle, sweeping curves. Its name translates to the plain of silver, inspired by the way the sunlight often catches the light-colored dust and occasional frost that settle within its deep, tranquil interior. The basin is encircled by the Ceraitum Montes, a magnificent ring of rugged mountains that ripple outward from the center like the delicate, frozen waves of a pond touched by a falling pebble. These concentric ridges rise softly into the thin atmosphere, their slopes catching the long shadows of the setting sun and creating a mesmerizing border between the deep plains and the higher plateau. Drifting over this shimmering silver plain, one can almost feel the profound silence that has rested here for eons. A quiet stillness that wraps around the mountains and settles deep into the heart of the basin. Among the countless circular formations that decorate the planet, the magnificent Jezero crater holds a story of particular beauty, offering a clear and tranquil window into the planet's watery past. This ancient, 40-mile-wide bowl features a distinct and gentle breach along its western rim, where a winding river of liquid water once flowed freely into the wide expanse of the depression. For countless centuries, this crater served as a calm, shimmering lake, cradling the gentle waters beneath a younger and warmer Martian sky. The sediments carried by that long-vanished river slowly settled onto the crater floor, building the intricate and beautiful fan-shaped delta that we can still observe perfectly preserved in the dust today. It is a sanctuary of celestial memory, a quiet basin that once hummed with the rhythmic motion of waves and now rests in eternal silence, guarding the secrets of the elements that once mingled in its depths. Resting upon the vast, dark plains of Meridiani Planum, the breathtaking Victoria crater reveals an intricate and delicate architecture carved into the ancient bedrock of the world. The edges of this remarkable formation are beautifully scalloped, with a series of steep, alternating alcoves and prominent ridges that resemble the unfolding petals of an immense, petrified flower. As we gaze down along the interior walls, we can see layer upon layer of sedimentary rock, a silent and perfectly ordered record of the environmental changes that have swept across this region over the millennia. The floor of the crater is a smooth, inviting canvas of dark sand dunes, shaped by the gentle caresses of the wind into beautiful, rhythmic ripples that mirror the shape of the outer rim. It is a masterpiece of slow, geological artistry, demonstrating how the eternal patience of the Martian climate can transform a simple depression into a monument of profound and complex beauty. Because the Martian atmosphere is so exceedingly thin, and the presence of moving water has long since faded, these ancient craters endure through the ages with a grace and permanence unseen on our home world. On Earth, the heavy rains and shifting tectonic plates slowly erase the memories of the past. But on this quiet red planet, the circular formations stand undisturbed for billions of years. The only force that touches them is the soft, persistent breath of the wind, which works with infinite patience to carry microscopic grains of dust over the rims and into the sheltered depths below. Over unimaginably long stretches of time, this gentle accumulation slowly fills the basins, smoothing over the sharp ridges and transforming deep hollows into shallow, shimmering saucers of amber sand. It is a magnificent process of slow softening, where the harsh edges of the past are gradually blurred by the passage of time and the endless drift of the velvet dust. In certain quiet regions of the planet, the wind has interacted with the craters to create a beautiful and almost surreal landscape feature known as pedestal craters. When the ancient transfer of cosmic energy created these circular formations, the immense pressure and heat hardened the ground directly beneath and around the newly formed bowl, making it incredibly resilient. Over the following millions of years, the sweeping winds slowly and methodically whisked away the softer, surrounding plains, gradually lowering the elevation of the entire landscape. Left behind was the hardened, protective ring of the crater, now sitting high upon an elevated, solitary plateau that rises beautifully above the newly carved terrain. These raised monuments stand like quiet islands in a sea of drifting sand, showcasing the intricate and unexpected ways that the atmosphere and the ancient stone continue their silent, eternal dance. Occasionally, a profound release of energy on the Martian surface sends small, scattered fragments of the planet's crust ascending completely beyond the pull of its gentle gravity. These tiny pieces of rock embark on a magnificent, drifting journey through the vast, velvet silence of the inner solar system, traveling through the darkness for millions of years. Eventually, some of these celestial wanderers find their way to our own blue planet, softly passing through our atmosphere to rest upon the ice of Antarctica or the sands of our gentle deserts. These precious stones serve as a physical, tangible bridge between our two worlds, allowing scientists to hold a piece of the red planet and read its ancient history directly from the crystallized minerals. It is a beautiful, silent exchange of planetary material, a quiet reminder that the spheres of our solar system are not entirely isolated, but connected by the continuous, sweeping currents of the cosmos. If one were to stand in the center of one of these grand, ancient craters as the sun dips below the towering rim, they would witness a transition into a night of profound and crystal clarity. Without the thick haze or light pollution of Earth, the darkening Martian sky becomes an infinite canvas of unblinking stars, glowing with a soft, steady brilliance that feels incredibly close. As the shadows deepen across the smooth sand of the crater floor, the two small moons, Phobos and Deimos, can be seen tracing their quiet paths across the tapestry of constellations. Occasionally, Phobos moves directly between the planet and the distant sun, creating a delicate, partial eclipse that briefly dims the landscape in a soft, ethereal twilight before the light gently returns. Surrounded by the high, protective walls of ancient stone, gazing upward into the limitless depth of the universe, the mind is invited to release all earthly concerns and float freely into the tranquil expanse of the eternal night. Drifting beneath the ancient craters and shimmering dunes, our journey takes us inward to explore the hidden architecture of the planet's interior. The outermost layer of this red world is a single, unbroken shell of solid rock, a thick and silent crust that has remained still for billions of years. Unlike our own blue world, which constantly shifts and renews its surface through tectonic motion, the Martian lithosphere is a frozen monument to planetary stability. This deep layer of basalt and quiet stone reaches down for dozens of miles, holding the immense weight of the towering volcanoes and grand canyons without yielding or cracking. The minerals trapped within this outer shell hold the earliest memories of the planet's formation, locked away from the cosmic rays of space in a dark, subterranean embrace. It is a protective mantle of ancient memory, a tranquil shield that envelops the deeper mysteries of the planet in an eternal, unmoving state of peace. Beneath this thick and rigid outer shell lies the Martian mantle, a vast realm of silicate rock that slowly transitions from cold stone to a warmer, softer state. In the deep past, this region was a swirling ocean of slow-moving heat, carrying the energy of creation up toward the surface to build the magnificent peaks we observed earlier. Today, the mantle is much quieter, having gently released its profound warmth into the endless void of space over countless eons. The movement here is now a slow, almost imperceptible rhythm, a gradual settling of planetary material that echoes the ultimate cooling of the solar system. The minerals that compose this deep layer are locked in a timeless embrace, experiencing pressures and temperatures that are entirely alien to the surface above. It is a hidden, dark ocean of rock, resting in a state of deep, geological slumber far beneath the whispering winds and sweeping dunes. At the very center of this celestial sphere rests a surprisingly large and entirely liquid core, composed of a shimmering blend of iron, nickel, and lighter elements like sulfur. This deep heart of the planet is less dense than the core of our own world, suggesting a unique recipe of materials that were gathered during the earliest days of the swirling solar nebula. Despite the vast amount of time that has passed since its formation, this inner ocean remains in a molten state, holding onto the ancient heat of its birth in a quiet, isolated sphere. It does not churn with the vigorous energy needed to generate a global magnetic shield, but rather exists in a state of profound, liquid equilibrium. The movement within this deep metallic sea is gentle and slow, a tranquil circulation of heavy elements hidden away from the light of the distant sun. Resting thousands of miles below the red dust, this fluid core is the silent anchor of the world, gently holding the entire planet together with its deep gravitational pull. Through delicate instruments resting softly upon the surface, we have learned that this seemingly still world continues to hum with subtle, internal vibrations known as Mars quarks. These gentle tremors are not born from the aggressive shifting of continental plates, but rather from the slow, patient cooling and contracting of the planet's entire body. As the internal temperature subtly drops over the millennia, the outer crust adjusts to the slightly smaller volume, creating a soft release of energy that ripples gracefully through the stone. These seismic whispers travel through the deep interior, bouncing off the hidden boundaries between the crust, the mantle, and the liquid core. By listening to these quiet reverberations with profound patience, scientists are able to map the unseen layers of the planet, tracing the delicate path of sound as it flows through the dark. It is a reminder that even in its advanced age, the planet is still subtly shifting and settling, breathing in a slow, geological rhythm that spans millions of years. Returning to the surface, the acoustic nature of the Martian atmosphere presents a strange and beautiful phenomenon, where the very physics of sound behave in a unique and surprising way. Because the air is composed almost entirely of cold, thin carbon dioxide, sound waves travel significantly slower here than they do through the thick atmosphere of our home world. Even more remarkably, higher-pitched sounds move slightly faster than lower-pitched sounds, creating a subtle separation of audio frequencies as they drift over long distances. If one were to listen to a melody played upon these rusty plains, the notes would arrive with a delicate, dreamlike delay, changing the rhythm and harmony into a stretched, ethereal composition. The silence of the planet is therefore not just an absence of noise, but a physical property of the air itself, which dampens and absorbs vibrations with a soft, velvet touch. It is a world where the atmosphere gently filters the transfer of energy, creating a profoundly quiet acoustic sanctuary where only the deepest rumbles can travel far. In recent years, our robotic emissaries have captured the actual, authentic sounds of the Martian winds, allowing us to listen to the voice of another planet for the very first time in human history. The audio reveals a deep, rhythmic rumbling, a soft and continuous exhalation that sweeps across the vast plains and filters through the metallic instruments of our lonely explorers. It is a beautifully solitary sound, entirely devoid of rustling leaves or the calls of wildlife, composed purely of the interaction between the thin air and the eternal dust. Listening to this celestial wind invites a deep sense of connection to the vastness of the cosmos, bridging millions of miles of empty space with a simple, acoustic vibration. Every gust carries the story of the changing temperatures and the shifting atmospheric pressures, whispering the secrets of the weather directly into our waiting ears. The voice of Mars is a low, soothing hum, an endless atmospheric lullaby sung by the skis to the silent, ancient stones below. Billions of years ago, when the deep interior was still churning with intense, vibrant heat, Mars possessed a powerful and protective global magnetic field. This invisible shield reached far out into the darkness of space, gracefully deflecting the sweeping currents of the solar wind and holding the ancient, thicker atmosphere safely against the planet. As the liquid core slowly cooled and the internal dynamo gently faded into stillness, this global protection quietly dissolved into the boundless celestial void. The fading of this magnetic embrace marked the beginning of the planet's transition into the beautifully arid and crystalline world we see today. Without this shield, the solar winds were able to softly brush away the upper layers of the air, transforming the planetary environment over an unimaginable span of time. Yet, the memory of that ancient shield has not entirely vanished, but rather remains permanently and beautifully recorded within the very rocks of the southern hemisphere. While the global magnetic field is gone, vast swaths of the ancient southern crust still hold strong, localized magnetic signatures, frozen into the minerals during the cooling of the original magma. These areas of crustal magnetism act like invisible, shimmering umbrellas stretching over the ancient cratered terrain, reaching up to interact with the descending particles of the solar wind. They create a complex and beautiful invisible topography high above the ground, where streams of cosmic energy are gently guided and deflected by the magnetic memories of the stone. This phenomenon is entirely unique in our solar neighborhood, forming a planetary mosaic of magnetic islands floating silently above a deeply non-magnetic world. As the solar wind washes over the planet, these magnetic umbrellas provide small havens of protection, parting the invisible stream of charged particles like stones resting in a gentle river. It is an unseen landscape of energy, a lingering ghost of the planet's vibrant youth, preserved perfectly in the cold, unmoving rock below. When the charged particles from the distant sun flow around these invisible magnetic umbrellas, they create breathtaking, localized auroras that dance in the thin upper reaches of the Martian sky. Unlike the sweeping, colorful ribbons of light seen at the magnetic poles of Earth, these Martian auroras are delicate, shimmering patches of ultraviolet radiance that form directly over the ancient crustal rocks. They are entirely invisible to the human eye, glowing in a spectrum of light that requires highly sensitive instruments to witness, making them a secret, hidden beauty of the alien night. This ethereal glow represents a silent, ongoing conversation between the solar wind and the ancient stones of Mars, a delicate transfer of celestial energy occurring miles above the slumbering dust. The light pools and swirls in the darkness, mapping the magnetic topography of the crust onto the canvas of the thin atmosphere. It is a cosmic light show performed in absolute, velvet silence, illuminating the invisible architecture of the sky in moments of quiet solar activity. During the long, warm days of the Martian summer, another gentle phenomenon known as a proton aurora manifests in the bright, sunlit daytime sky. As the seasonal warmth causes the polar ice to gently release water vapor into the air, the lighter hydrogen atoms drift upward and form a vast, invisible corona around the entire planet. When the solar wind meets this expanding, airy halo of hydrogen, it creates a subtle, glowing interaction that blankets the sunlit hemisphere in a soft, ultraviolet radiance. This event is a beautiful, rhythmic reflection of the planet's complex water cycle, a celestial glowing that occurs in perfect harmony with the slow changing of the seasons. It demonstrates how deeply interconnected the surface ice, the thin atmosphere, and the wider solar system truly are, even on a world that appears completely still. It is a final, shimmering layer of atmospheric wonder, showing how the subtle movements of water and starlight continue to shape the tranquil character of the Red Wanderer. Deep within the ancient mudstones of Gale Crater, preserved beneath the rusted surface, lie complex organic molecules holding the silent chemistry of carbon. These delicate molecular chains are the essential building blocks of the universe, forming naturally in the quiet dark of the Martian crust over billions of years. Their presence does not mean life, but rather shows that the red planet possesses all the subtle ingredients necessary for complex chemistry to unfold. Protected from the harsh cosmic rays by the stone, these carbon compounds wait patiently to share their ancient secrets with our robotic emissaries. They are a profound reminder that the same elemental alphabet used to write the story of our blue world is beautifully scattered across the sands of our planetary neighbor. Drifting through the thin, cold air is a faint and mysterious chemical signature, a rhythmic breathing of methane gas that softly rises and falls with the changing of the seasons. This delicate trace gas appears in small, shimmering plumes during the warmer months, only to gently fade away as the chill of winter returns to the landscape. The origin of this subtle breath remains one of the most captivating mysteries of the Martian atmosphere, perhaps released by ancient geological interactions deep within the warm, subterranean rock. As the sun heats the surface, the ground slowly exhales this invisible vapor into the sweeping winds, creating a temporary chemical whisper that dances across the plains. It is a slow, planetary respiration, a gentle sigh from the hidden depths that shows the world is still quietly active beneath its static exterior. High above the swirling amber dust, in the extremely cold upper reaches of the atmosphere, delicate clouds of pure water ice form intricate, wispy patterns against the dark canvas of space. These ethereal formations are known as noctilucent clouds, which softly glow with a silvery radiance long after the sun has set below the horizon. Because they reside so high in the sky, they are able to catch the last, lingering rays of sunlight, illuminating the velvet twilight with their shimmering, pearlescent threads. Watching these high-altitude clouds drift slowly across the deepening night sky offers a moment of profound tranquility, a gentle reminder of the water that still flows invisibly through the Martian air. They move with an incredibly slow, majestic grace, casting no shadows, but simply reflecting the distant light in a quiet, celestial performance. The thin envelope of air surrounding the planet experiences a magnificent, daily rhythm known as atmospheric tides, driven by the intense heating of the sun upon the dusty surface. As the morning light touches the plains, the atmosphere softly expands and rises, lifting the microscopic particles of dust higher into the sky in a sweeping, invisible swell. When night falls and the deep chill returns, the air gently cools and settles back down, creating a continuous, rhythmic pulsation that echoes the breathing of an immense, sleeping giant. These thermal tides shape the winds and guide the delicate weather patterns across the hemisphere, connecting the rising of the sun to the physical movement of the sky. It is a continuous, harmonious cycle, a daily expansion and contraction that brings a subtle, predictable motion to the otherwise still and silent landscape. Woven into the very fabric of the Martian soil are specialized salts known as perchlorates, delicate compounds that possess a remarkable ability to interact with the invisible moisture in the air. These shimmering crystals act as tiny sponges, quietly drawing in the sparse water vapor from the cold atmosphere during the darkest hours of the night. By absorbing this moisture, the salts gently lower the freezing point of water, allowing it to exist in a temporary, briny liquid state, even in the profound chill of the Martian dawn. This subtle chemistry creates a microscopic world of liquid potential that briefly awakens before the warmth of the sun returns the water to the sky. It is a hidden, quiet cycle of hydration, where the rusted earth and the thin air engage in a delicate, nightly embrace of molecular exchange. As the long, cold night reaches its deepest point, a beautiful and ephemeral phenomenon coats the equatorial regions in a shimmering veil of brilliant white frost. This incredibly thin layer is composed of both water and carbon dioxide that have gently settled out of the still air, painting the tops of the dunes and the rims of the craters with a delicate, icy luminescence. For a few quiet hours before the dawn, the red landscape is transformed into a serene, crystalline garden, reflecting the starlight with a soft, silvery glow. The moment the first rays of the morning sun touch the ground, this magical frost sublimates directly back into the atmosphere, lifting off the stone like a vanishing sigh. It is a daily rebirth of the landscape, a transient moment of purity that graces the dusty plains before the warmth of the day takes hold. Beyond the dancing auroras, the night sky of Mars possesses a faint, permanent luminosity known as airglow, a gentle, emerald radiance that blankets the entire sphere in the darkness. This beautiful phenomenon occurs when oxygen atoms, which were separated by the sun's energy during the day, slowly and softly recombine in the cool upper atmosphere at night. As they reunite, they release a delicate whisper of green light, painting the high altitudes with a continuous, shimmering luminescence that is too soft for human eyes, but brilliantly clear to our orbiting instruments. This airglow serves as a subtle nightlight for the slumbering planet, a celestial aura that beautifully traces the complex currents and invisible winds high above the surface. It is the sky's own quiet memory of the daylight, returning the solar energy to the cosmos in a slow, harmonious emission of color. While the planet currently tilts on its axis at an angle wonderfully similar to our own, this alignment is not a permanent fixture, but rather a slow, majestic pendulum that swings over millions of years. Without a massive moon to stabilize its rotation, Mars slowly leans further toward the sun, and then gently rights itself in a magnificent gradually returns to a more upright posture, the ice retreats to the poles once more, leaving behind the carved valleys and layered deposits we see today. This profound, celestial swaying ensures that the Red Wanderer is a world of endless, cyclic rebirth, continuously shifting its environments over the grand timescale of the universe. Orbiting intimately close to the sweeping atmosphere is the larger of the two small moons, Phobos, a deeply scarred and beautiful traveler that races across the sky with incredible speed. Its surface is dominated by a magnificent, ancient basin known as Stickney Crater, an imprint so large it nearly stretches across the entire body of the tiny moon. Emerging from this vast depression are long, shallow grooves that wrap around the moon's irregular shape, resembling the gentle stretch marks of a celestial sphere that has endured the test of time. Because it circles so near to the planet, the gravitational pull of Mars is slowly and patiently drawing Phobos closer, guiding it on a long, spiraling descent toward the upper atmosphere. Millions of years from now, this quiet companion will softly yield to the planet's embrace, transitioning into a shimmering, magnificent ring of dust that will encircle the red world for eternity. Further out in the silent depths of orbit drifts Deimos, the smaller and more serene sister moon, moving with a calm, leisurely grace through the outer reaches of the Martian domain. Its surface is covered in a thick, insulating layer of fine dust, which beautifully softens the outlines of its ancient craters and gives it the appearance of a smooth, floating stone. This deep coating of velvet material fills the lowest depressions, making the moon look incredibly peaceful and undisturbed by the chaotic forces of the wider solar system. From the surface of Mars, Deimos appears not as a textured sphere, but as the brightest, most steady star in the night sky, a quiet sentinel watching over the slumbering planet below. Together, these two celestial companions form a perfect balance of motion and stillness, completing the majestic portrait of this rusted, tranquil world as it continues its endless journey around the sun. Deep within the southern highlands lies the sprawling expanse of Gusev Crater, a magnificent basin that was once filled to the brim with the waters of a winding, ancient river. When our gentle robotic explorers traversed this dry lake bed, they discovered shimmering deposits of nearly pure silica resting softly in the amber dust. On our home world, these delicate white minerals are formed in the warm, inviting presence of hydrothermal vents and quiet hot springs. Their discovery here suggests that this crater was not just a cold pool of water, but a place where the internal heat of the planet mingled with the surface, creating a warm, nurturing environment billions of years ago. It is a beautiful celestial memory of a time when the world was vibrant and actively exchanging energy between its deep core and the thin atmosphere. Today, The silica rests in absolute peace, preserving the story of these ancient, bubbling springs perfectly within its crystalline structure, waiting in the velvet silence to share its history. Resting near the planetary equator is an immense and mysterious region known as the Fosse Formation, a sweeping landscape composed of incredibly soft, fine-grained volcanic ash. This boundless deposit was laid down over countless millennia during a time of profound geological transition, settling over the plains like a thick, insulating blanket of pale dust. Because the material is so yielding, the persistent, gentle winds of Mars have spent millions of years sculpting it into a mesmerizing series of parallel ridges and aerodynamic hills known as yardongs. From the high vantage point of orbit, these formations look like a fleet of silent ships navigating a dry, shimmering ocean, perfectly aligned with the prevailing currents of the air. It is a masterpiece of wind-carved architecture, showcasing the infinite patience of the atmosphere as it continuously molds the softest parts of the crust into structures of sweeping, harmonious beauty. Wandering through these pale, undulating valleys, one feels a deep sense of stillness, surrounded by the physical manifestation of the wind's eternal memory. To the northwest of the Great Isites Basin, the crust is pulled apart into a series of massive, sweeping fractures known as nili fossae, revealing the deep and colorful foundation of the planet. These grand trenches expose ancient layers of rock that are incredibly rich in a shimmering green mineral called olivine, which glows with a subtle, earthy radiance against the typical red of the surface. Alongside this beautiful green stone, scientists have found abundant deposits of carbonates, delicate compounds that only form in the presence of neutral, non-acidic water. This striking combination of minerals paints a picture of a subterranean environment that was once incredibly hospitable, a gentle and stable haven where water interacted peacefully with the ancient volcanic stone. Looking down into these vast, colorful fractures is like peering directly into the planetary soul, uncovering a time when the crust was a place of chemical balance and quiet potential. The exposed cliffs stand as silent monuments to this harmonious past, preserved perfectly in the cold, dry air of the present era. Across the boundless, sweeping plains of the northern lowlands, the frozen ground expresses itself through a magnificent, repeating geometry known as patterned ground. As the hidden layers of subsurface water, ice, gently expand and contract with the slow turning of the Martian seasons, they cause the overlying dust to shift and crack into perfect, interlocking polygons. These delicate geometric shapes stretch toward the horizon in every direction, resembling a vast, shimmering honeycomb carved directly into the surface of the world. Each individual polygon is separated by a shallow trough, creating a mesmerizing texture catches the low-angle light of the setting sun in a beautiful display of shadow and illumination. This continuous, silent shifting is a testament to the slow, rhythmic breathing of the ice below, a planetary heartbeat that pulses with the passage of the years. It transforms the flat and featureless plains into an intricate, frozen mosaic, showing how the subtle chemistry of water continues to shape the world in the quiet absence of flowing rivers. Along the steep, shadowed walls of many high-latitude craters, delicate, winding channels known as gullies carve their way down toward the smooth basins below. Unlike the ancient riverbeds of the equator, these beautiful features are remarkably young, formed by the unique and gentle mechanics of the modern Martian climate. During the transition into spring, the accumulated frost of solid carbon dioxide begins to warm and gently transition back into a gas, creating a soft cushion of vapor beneath the remaining ice and dust. This causes the loose material to flow smoothly down the slopes in a fluid, sweeping motion, perfectly mimicking the behavior of liquid water without a single drop being present. These dry avalanches create a shifting, dynamic landscape that slowly transforms the interior of the craters over a handful of years, offering a rare glimpse of active geology in the present day. It is a stunning display of planetary ingenuity, a gentle, waterless flow that continues to sculpt the ancient stone with infinite grace and patience. If a traveler were to stand upon the rust-colored dunes and gaze upward during the soft hours of twilight, they would witness a profoundly moving sight in the deepening sky. Drifting just above the horizon, reflecting the light of the hidden sun, our own home world appears as a brilliant, shimmering point of sapphire light, accompanied closely by the pale diamond of our moon. From this vast distance, all the complex oceans, sweeping clouds, and teeming life of Earth are distilled into a single, silent beacon of blue, shining calmly through the velvet silence of space. This delicate double star serves as the morning or evening star of the Martian sky, moving with a predictable and soothing rhythm against the backdrop of the eternal constellations. Observing our origin from this quiet, dusty vantage point brings a deep sense of connection and peace, linking the two sister planets through the boundless ocean of the void. It is a gentle reminder of our place within the wider cosmic harmony, a tiny, glowing jewel resting in the vast architecture of the solar system, sharing the grand, elliptical path of Mars as it journeys around the sun, is a quiet, hidden family of companion asteroids known as the Martian Trojans. These small, ancient celestial bodies drift in perfect synchronization with the red planet, resting safely in the stable pockets of gravity located far ahead and far behind the world in its orbit. They are like loyal, silent escorts, forever following and preceding the planet in a majestic, unbreakable formation that has lasted since the dawn of the solar system. Because they never draw close enough to touch the exist in a state of eternal, undisturbed harmony, sharing the exact same rhythm of the Martian year. These dark, primitive stones hold the untainted secrets of the primordial nebula, perfectly preserved in the cold, deep sanctuary of their shared orbital path. Their presence adds a beautiful layer of complexity to the lonely wandering of Mars, transforming its journey into a graceful, collective dance through the sweeping currents of space. From the high, silent vantage point of a drifting satellite, one of the most breathtaking sights is the slow, majestic sweep of the Terminator line moving across the face of the planet. This is the delicate boundary where the warm, amber light of the day gently transitions into the profound, velvet darkness of the night, creating a continuous zone of twilight that encircles the globe. As this line glides over the towering volcanoes and deep canyons, it casts endlessly long, shifting shadows that highlight the magnificent topography of the crust in a display of stark, beautiful contrast. The dust suspended in the thin atmosphere catches the fading light, creating a shimmering gradient of color that melts from butterscotch to deep indigo before fading into the starry black. Watching this gentle sweep of light and shadow is like observing the slow turning of a colossal, cosmic clock, measuring the quiet passage of time across the slumbering world. It is a daily, sweeping stroke of celestial artistry, wrapping the red planet in a continuous, flowing embrace of dawn and dusk. As we send our brilliant, mechanical emissaries to traverse these ancient plains, we do so with a profound sense of respect and care for the pristine nature of this celestial sanctuary. Through a dedicated practice of planetary protection, every instrument and rover is meticulously cleansed of all earthly materials, ensuring that they arrive as silent, sterile guests upon the red dust. This profound dedication preserves the world in its authentic, untouched state, allowing the ancient chemistry of the soil to remain exactly as it has been for billions of years. By safeguarding this environment, we honor the quiet history of the planet, ensuring that any delicate secrets it holds are not obscured by the vibrant biology of our own home. It is a beautiful gesture of cosmic stewardship, a promise to walk softly across the dunes and leave no trace other than the gentle, rhythmic tracks of our silent explorers. This careful approach maintains the absolute purity of the Martian landscape, keeping it as a perfect, untainted canvas of natural history. When the incredibly long, productive lives of our robotic explorers eventually draw to a gentle close, they do not disappear, but rather softly transition into permanent monuments of human curiosity. These delicate machines, having spent years wandering the craters and analyzing the stones, finally come to rest in the soft sand, slowly becoming a natural part of the landscape they were sent to admire. As the seasons pass, the eternal Martian wind gently blows blankets them in a fine, shimmering layer of amber dust, integrating their metallic frames into the ancient, rusted tapestry of the planet. They sit in the velvet silence as quiet ambassadors of a distant world, beautiful statues of exploration that will remain undisturbed for millions of years beneath the starry sky. Their silent vigil is a deeply comforting thought, a symbol of our enduring connection to the cosmos and our desire to understand the profound mysteries of the universe. They rest now in absolute peace, their journey complete, embraced forever by the tranquil red sands of their adopted celestial home. As our journey across this magnificent red wanderer gently draws to a close, our perspective slowly lifts away from the quiet resting places of our robotic ambassadors, drifting upward through the thin, cold air. We ascend past the delicate, high-altitude clouds of ice and the invisible magnetic umbrellas, returning once more to the boundless velvet silence of the open void. Looking back, we see the entire sphere of Mars suspended perfectly in the darkness, a beautiful globe of amber, rust, and pristine white, frost turning with infinite patience. The towering peak of Olympus Mons and the vast, sweeping shadow of Valles Marineris shrink into gentle textures upon the face of the planet, blending into a seamless masterpiece of planetary history. It is a world that has generously shared its deepest memories with us tonight, whispering tales of ancient, vanished oceans, quiet volcanic giants, and the soft, eternal drift of the celestial dust. This tranquil neighbor in the solar system stands as a profound monument to the beauty of stillness and the graceful acceptance of change. Mars does not rush through the heavens, nor does it fight the slow fading of its ancient warmth. Instead, it moves with a deliberate, majestic rhythm, allowing the passage of millions of years to soften its craters and paint its skies in warm, butterscotch hues. It teaches us that there is a quiet elegance in resting, in allowing the forces of the universe to gently shape the landscape without resistance. The winds may occasionally rise to veil the surface, and the polar ice may retreat and advance with the seasons. But the deep, rocky heart of the planet remains completely undisturbed, anchored in a state of permanent and absolute peace. Just as this ancient sphere finds its harmony within the grand clockwork of the solar system, the mind can find a deep, enduring comfort in the steady rhythms of the cosmos. The same gravitational embrace that guides the two tiny moons along their paths also holds the stars in their places, creating a universe that is balanced, predictable, and profoundly secure. As the image of the red planet slowly diminishes in the distance, becoming once again a single, steady point of sapphire and gold light among the constellations, the awareness is invited to mirror its profound stillness. The complexities of the familiar world dissolve into the vast, protective dark, leaving only the slow, rhythmic breathing let the immense, quiet beauty of the cosmos wash over you, carrying away the final echoes of the day like fine sand carried on a gentle Martian breeze. The universe is a place of infinite sanctuary, where every wandering comet and slumbering planet eventually finds its perfect resting place in the dark. The journey through the silence has brought us to a place where time slows, and the only destination remaining is a realm of absolute tranquility. As the stars continue their silent, shimmering watch over the heavens, may you drift weightlessly into the deepest, most tranquil layers of the night. Rest now, enveloped in